is in the right area, movement when the ball is in the right area, to be disconcerting. Sometimes when the ball swings dramatically, it's very tough to get a wicket, but there's enough in this pitch and enough in the atmosphere at the moment to make things a little bit difficult here for Victoria. Maybe the ball isn't coming on as well as it was when it was brand new. It almost, well, it did bounce before it got to the keeper. If concedes a bye, it's an unfortunate bye. But well taken single from the Vicks.
I think that Victoria have got an advantage here, as it is still very, very early days. We're not even 10 overs into this innings, so they've got plenty of time to build an innings and build a partnership, and they haven't been able to do that since that first wicket fell when the score was at 32. Score was at 32. You think of a player like Maxwell Park, he can really take a game away from you so quickly when he has his iron and he's in that mood.
Well, if these two are there at the 30 over mark, Victoria, you would suggest, are on their way to a pretty good score.
Definitely. And yeah, both these players have hit sixes at much bigger grounds than Riverside Stadium. So yeah, if they can get their iron, that's what the Victorian fans will be wanting.
One past the outside edge.
Yeah, they've just readjusted Queensland here when over the last kind of 4 or 5 overs. They're bowling a little bit too full to Marcus Harris, where we saw him play a couple of those lovely cover drives for 4. They've just pulled their length back a little bit, just short of a length, and getting enough movement off the seam to be troubling both Maxwell and White, who haven't looked that convincing out there in the middle so far.
That's the end of the 8th over, and just the 1 run off it. And so Victoria now 3 for 41. None for 32 after 3. So 5 overs later, they've only added 9 runs and they've lost 3 wickets.
It's certainly been a real change, hasn't it, from Queens, and they'll be delighted with this. I don't think they would have imagined at the 5 over mark that they have 3 wickets at the 8 over mark. Yeah, credit needs to be given to them. They've toiled hard. They've worked really hard in the field to put some pressure back on the Victorians, and with Stanlake and Steckety have bowled well over the last few overs.
There's another good delivery. It's remarkable where form comes from, where it goes to when it disappears, because Billy Stanlake, in that over, that 3rd over of his 6th over of the innings when he hit Cameron White, he was just going through the motions hoping to put the ball on the pitch. Now he's got his mojo back and he's making life difficult.
And it's this kind of form that's got him into Australian colours in T20 and one-day international cricket. He's just putting it right on a dime at the moment, and there's nothing really Cameron White can do with these deliveries unless he wants to risk walking his way back to the pavilion like his 3 previous Victorian teammates. He just has to try and weather this storm and let those ball go and try and fend Stanlake off. He's into his 5th over.
Did he play at that, do you think, or he just, the Cameron White, as he often does, just looks to play but knows he's not? That was good line, good length, and literally just bounced over the bat there of Cameron White.
Yeah, it looked as if he had his bat behind the pad. The old trick when you're playing the spinners, make sure you're playing a shot at the very least. But yeah, he didn't really look like he was interested in playing a shot in that one.
That he played a shot at.
Definitely did.
He's found his rhythm, Stanlake.
Yeah, that's a beautiful delivery. Just bouncing over the shoulder of the bat and yeah, fooling Cameron White with that delivery. It's so hard as a batsman when there's balls outside the off stump. As much as you tell yourself not to push at it or throw the bat out there, it's almost like it's just that thing that you're fighting so hard against.
Up-ish and didn't carry. He was lucky that it didn't carry. It was a pretty poor shot from Cameron White. Came off the pitch pretty slowly. Sam Hazlitt, what, about a metre in front of him?
Yeah, it just seemed to balloon. It looked like it came really high off the bat as well. Maybe up near the splice, but yeah, it didn't look like it was going anywhere apart from just bouncing in front of Hazlitt on that occasion. But yeah, risky stuff from Cameron White here.
Didn't offer a shot, but I think that was going over the top. That's a terrific over. A maiden over, first of the innings, and after 9, 3 for 41.
All of a sudden, Stanlake's figures look quite respectable. 5 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 23. You look at that on face value, Mark, and you think that he's been bowling brilliantly for the 5 overs. Well, he's really only found his rhythm in the past probably 2 or 3 overs, but been brilliant to watch. Player rediscover form mid-spell.
It's a bit like golf, isn't it? They're scorecards, not postcards.
Yeah.
Just read the scorecard and it'll tell you the score, but not necessarily the story of the game. You know, credit to Billy Stanlake for fighting back and for Chris Lynn having the confidence to keep him on. Straight down the ground and well fielded. Oh, there was a chance of a run out. It was a sneaky run. I think Maxwell thought it had got past Max Bryant, who just couldn't control the ball. Didn't quite time the shot. That would have been disastrous for the Vicks.
That's the last thing you want when you got your backs up against the wall anyway, is to gift a wicket to the opposition, particularly a player the calibre of Maxwell. But this is just, they just need to weather the storm here. Victoria, they've certainly haven't had the rub of the green in the last 4 or 5 overs, but they're staying out in the middle, which is the main thing. They need to build a partnership. And even so, even if they weren't to get any runs off these remaining 4 deliveries, run rate's still 4.2, which is still solid enough for them.
Another wide conceded. Extras of concern here for Queensland. They've conceded a lot of wides. Bit of a French Cup there. Through the legs of White. Just the one. Xavier Bartlett does the fielding. I think it'd be far away from him having a bowl. And Chris Lynn is signalling to Billy Stanlake. Maybe just the one more. It's pretty handy when you get into fine leg, as Billy Stanlake is at the moment. And Andy Bickle and James Hopes are there giving him a drink.
Two of Queensland's best bowlers perhaps ever, but most definitely over the last 20 years or so. They have a wealth of experience. Good to see him on the Queensland coaching staff as well. Hoping those younger players come through, and no doubt they're going to be giving plenty of words of wisdom to Xavier Bartlett and a few of these other young Queenslanders that are playing today.
It's Wade second, the coach, and Martin Love, the physio. He's getting the band back together.
It is.
Well played. Just the one, but it was well timed. First shot that we've really seen timed well for a number of overs.
Yeah, well, the scoreboard tells a story, doesn't it? With White 3 off 24, and Maxwell now 2 off 7. Run making has not been easy for the Victorians at all, and that is an understatement.
Not since the first 3 overs when they were 11 off per over. That is the end of the 10th over. And after 10 overs, it is Victoria 3 for 45.
So,
10 overs, Victoria
a bit of a consolidation period here for the Victorians. Runs have been hard to come by. Maxwell 2 off 7. Cameron White really trying to build an innings here and try and help his side get out of this rut. 3 of 25. Matt Taylor is going to jump in the commentary box with me as we look to see what will happen in these next 10 overs. None for 32 they were after 3 overs, the Victorians, and probably thought trouble may have been brewing for the Queenslanders, but then 3 for 13 in the next 5 overs after that. And it's been a very committed bowling performance here by the Bulls after a bit of a shaky start. Matt Taylor.
Yeah, sure has. G'day, Jack. G'day, everyone. It's a funny old game, this. Number 32 after 3 overs, and suddenly a triple breakthrough.
So in comes Stan Lake, and this one is wafting away at a wide one. There is Maxwell. Don't think we'll see him play too many defensive strokes today. He's been very sedate so far. Strike rate of just 25, but Stan Lake has really been able to just hit his groove over the last probably 12 to 18 deliveries here. And this has been hitting that regular mark outside the off stump. Maxwell's now just back and just nudging that one back down the pitch. I don't want to embarrass you, Matt, but what the listeners don't know is you did play New South Wales under 17s. Did you play against any of these guys that are out here today, or were they a little bit too old for you?
No one out here today, but I tell you what, I'm glad I didn't have to face up against the likes of Maxwell and White, because I think this is just a situation that has a real feel of it's set up for a big innings for Glenn Maxwell, a salvage mission for Victoria. He's got a point to prove today.
Faces up to Stan Lake. This one's driven beautifully out through extra cover. Didn't get it right out of the middle of the bat. And it's going close, and it's just going to get over the boundary rope. A bit of tangling down there. It was Mitch Swepson that was trying to pull that one back inside. And it ends up going to the rope for 4. So 4 there to Maxwell. So he'll be happy to cash in on a boundary. 3 for 49.
Yeah, just playing through the line there, Maxwell. It's a pretty true wicket here today at the Riverway Stadium, and definitely value for your shots, although there is something in it for the bowlers as well, as we've seen. Good carry from the likes of Stan Lake and Steckity.
Maxwell squirts this one back with a point going down to the boundary. It's going to be picked up just inside there by Steckity, and they get back for 2. It was a nice throw from the deep. And well to get around and cover that, because that one was racing towards the rope. And Maxwell maybe just starting to turn the corner here for the Vicks. He moves along to 6 runs now off 10 deliveries, brings up the 50 for Victoria, the first milestone ticked off for them.
He was always looking for 2 there, Maxwell as well. That was good running. Flew down to the man on the 3rd man boundary, but he turned and went very quickly from the non-striker's end.
This one just a little bit shorter at the body of Maxwell, who nudges that onto the onside. So can't pierce the gap there.
We do a lot of talking about Glenn Maxwell, Jack, but Cameron White's a player who, over the over the years, he's got a lot of runs in domestic one-day cricket, but he often is a shaky starter. He really does scratch around a bit at the beginning of his innings. And I remember for a big 100 he scored in Perth, 150 odd a few years ago, and couldn't hit the ball off the square early and ended up launching.
Maxwell driving down the ground, but again, a little bit tinny that strike there and goes straight to the captain, Chris Lynn. So ends the over. A positive one there for the Victorians, picking up 6 from it. So they move along to 3 for 51 after 11 overs. Maxwell is 8, White is 3. Stanlake 6 overs for him, 1 for 29, whilst Decady has 5 overs, 2 for 21. But looks as if they're going to go to Jack Wildermuth, the Queensland all-rounder. He's been over that Australia A Tour and has been getting a bit of experience playing in those big-time games for the Australian second-tier team.
Yeah, Wildermuth, interesting player. He's a good all-rounder, good striker of the ball, and he's more than handy with the ball as well. Just a quick word about Stanlake. 6 overs in the heat here in Townsville. That's a big effort from him with the new ball, thinking he's a player who's predominantly played 20-over cricket now for the last 3 or 4 years, aside from a few one-days for Australia. So even then with those one-days for Australia, only have a bowling 3 to 4 over spell. So that's a big effort from him. And he'll be reaching for the oxygen mask down there at fine leg at the moment. But it's Wildermuth for the 12th over.
Cameron White facing up. White shoulders arms to this ball, which again just kind of skids through and just kind of grubbers along the ground there. So I've seen this happen a few times so far this morning, Matty.
Yeah, that's interesting because from Stanlake's end, there's certainly been pretty good carry throughout, but that ball did seem to stay quite low. We're in a side-on position here in Townsville, so not quite sure what might have happened off the wicket there.
You can even see Glenn Maxwell just kind of motioning both sides that it's staying a tad low. One in just drops this on the offside. This will be a bit of a tight single, but Maxwell gets his skates on, and probably not too many better runners in Australian cricket there between the wickets, and Maxwell gets there safely. And White moves on to a very pedestrian 4 off 27. So Queensland have done a very good job this morning, but I'd love to get some more wickets as this ball's just kind of clubbed onto the onside there by Glenn Maxwell.
Good example of the inconsistent bounce this over, Jack. And first ball did seem to stay a little low, and that one just jumped on Maxwell slightly. And you can see that Chris Lynn's employing a short mid-wicket catching type fieldsman for Maxwell, which might just be in response to playing with hard hands in front of his body, and maybe a ball that might just lift a little bit, hitting the splice of the bat or taking a leading edge.
Maxwell back, compact in defence. He defends this back to Wildermuth. He's pretty much been on the money in these first 4 balls, just the 1 run coming from it so far, but we certainly saw with both Steckity and Stanlake struggled early on to kind of find their rhythm, at least in that first over with a few wides and a few wayward deliveries, but Wildermuth has been good so far in these first 4 balls. So Maxwell faces up. He's 8 off 15. He tries to work this one around the corner. That'll be a wide as a bit of a trundler down the leg side. So commentators curse there on Jack Wildermuth and see who's hitting the mark and looking good. He's now bowled his first wide, and the 13th extra as well in this innings, which is not great viewing for Queensland supporters, considering we've only had 11.4 overs. We don't really want to be doing giving away 1 sundry and over, looking at 50 sundries by the end of the innings. Back, and he clubs on Maxwell all the way down to the boundary and over the head of the fielder right there for 6. So Maxwell cashes in. It wasn't right out of the middle, Matty Taylor, but he got just enough on it to get it over the fielder on the boundary for 6. I think that was Steckity down there, who's a tall individual, but even he'd have to have go-go gadget arms there to reel that one in.
Well, if we see the replay here, that's a bit of a top edge from Maxwell, and it went straight in Steckity's direction. He took 3 or 4 steps in off the boundary and then if he just stayed on the rope, he might have been a chance. And I think the stunned reaction of the Queensland fielders, they might know that might have been a chance gone begging. That one didn't. It would have been touch and go if he'd been on the fence, but in the end, no attempt.
What will Wildermuth follow up with? Last ball of the over, short, pushed onto the offside out to mid-off, and no run on that occasion. So a bizarre over, really. Maxwell nearly getting out, skying 1 for 6. We saw a wide and pretty consistent over for Wildermuth, who finishes his first over. 8 runs coming from it, 3 for 59 off 12. So that run rate still very healthy, just below 5 and over, with Maxwell 14 from 17. White at the other end playing a real anchorage role. He's 4 off 27 here in the first round of the JLT One Day Cup up here at Riverside Stadium in Townsville.
So we're going to have a change in the attack. It's Xavier Bartlett, the tall, fast bowler, is going to get his first crack of the day. He'll no doubt be keen to make an impression with the ball. Good time to bowl as well for him. Extra couple of fielders on the boundary if needed for protection, with the fielding restrictions relaxed. He's got his captain there in his ear, and I think he'll be pretty keen, Jack.
Yeah, he'll be chomping at the bit. First time in Queensland One Day colours for the 19-year-old. He's played 4 List A matches in his career. Here he comes in, right arm over the wicket. And again, White just looking like he's tempted to kind of push at that one, but keeps the bat firmly thrusted in behind the pad. And so Bartlett starts with a dot ball.
Yeah, White's really feeling for them here. He's sort of almost playing a forward defence before Bartlett even let that one go, and you see that he took a bit of a half step straight down the line of the stumps as opposed to towards the ball, and in the end got the bat out of the way, no trouble, but it doesn't quite look like he's seeing them too well at the moment, White.
In and this one again, as you mentioned, Matt, just really feeling for it, coming forward and pushing at that, and that may come down to a little bit to do with this variable bounce that we've seen throughout the morning as well, particularly from either end.
Yeah, well, that ball did look to slightly leave White off the wicket, but again, a bit of a half step forward, if that, and just pushing the hard hands at the ball. It's just yet to break the shackles, White.
Bartlett in, he dances down the track and lofts this beautifully over the top. Gets caught in the outfit a little bit, but has enough momentum to reach the rope. And so Cameron White does maybe just break the shackles, at least for one delivery. He goes along to 8, his first boundary of the morning, and pushes the score along to 3 for 63 here for the Victorians, who are just starting to find their group perhaps a little bit more than they were 3 or 4 overs ago.
Yeah, but Queensland will be loving that. White's had to come down the wicket and play a lofted drive just to get bat on ball. And so he's batting pretty deep in his crease too.
He's pushing this one in the air. Awkward looking shot. He gets it in the gap. Thankfully for him, and he'll pick up 2 more there, which will take him into double figures and get that striker up to about 30. Maxwell is 14, so 65 on the board here for the Victorian cricket team. They are 3 down. So perhaps he maybe just senses he can try and get on top of the debutant Bartlett here, but neither ball has been that bad, it must be said. Up forward and just feeling for this one, and pushes out to point on the offside.
Yeah, again, hands well in front of the body there from White, just like that shot that was lofted through the mid-wicket region, and we can see a slight fielding change now with 1 ball to go in the over. So square leg goes back most of the way to the boundary, and the second slip is moved into mid-wicket into a catching position, exactly where that ball went 2 balls ago.
Continues here and pushes forward and just really has to hold the line, doesn't he, there, just to get bat on ball, White. But a much more promising over for him. He picked up 6 off it, that boundary, and then the 2. He's on 10, Maxwell 14 3 for 65 after 13 overs. It's a lovely shot of the Riverside Stadium, or Riverway Stadium here at Townsville. With a wonderful landscape in the distance. Very nice ground up here in Townsville. There's been a lot of work in the greater Townsville region over the last couple of years, and particularly in this position where we're situated. Very nice swimming pool just out the back, and they've got the practice nets as well, and some parks and everything. It is a really beautiful part of Australia. To move in, and Maxwell drives on the up down to mid-on, no run.
Yeah, so just looking around the field here that Chris Lynn has set for Wildermuth. I think he's hedging his bets a little bit. There's 3 men on the boundary, square leg, fine leg and third man. A slip still in play, and then a fairly regulation infield. So a bit of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and just looking to keep things nice and tight. Victoria's struggling to get momentum, I think, with their batting.
Maxwell in and getting cramped for room. Can't really free the arms there, so just pushes down to mid-off.
And the instructions, no doubt, to Wildermuth will be nothing in the slot. No half volleys to Maxwell that's going to give him easy balls to drive through that cover region. Keep making him have to almost come out and meet the ball on the up. And if he's good enough to play a pull shot for 6 like he did last over, well, so be it.
Maxwell just kind of caught on the crease there as it shows a little bit of frustration as he swings his bat away.
Yeah, I wonder if Wildermuth just rolled the fingers across that. We might be already starting to see some changes of pace coming in from Queensland. Just noting that Victoria not really getting on top. The lack of pace on the ball might force them to create something a bit like White had to last over, and never know what might happen now. There's a catch and cover in play as well. That uppish drive.
Into Maxwell, who's driving on the up, extremely well timed. It might be a little bit tight. Lynn eases the throw in, and Maxwell gets back in time.
Again, uppish. Maxwell, that's what the Bulls are looking for. There's catching mid-wickets and covers in play. Time, unfortunately, with Chris Lynn's known injury issues with his throwing. It's probably a bit of hit and run down to mid-on, but probably still a little minor win for the Bulls.
White faces up now, and White pushes at that one. There's half-hearted appeals from the Bulls, but they fall on deaf ears. How great is it to see Chris Lynn back playing domestic cricket as well, because he's had a wretched run with injuries. He's been obviously that 2020 player that we've seen around January and February and playing for the Brisbane Heat, but great to see him playing in, I guess, a bit of a longer form here. First time that he's represented Queensland in this competition since the 13-14 summer.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'll be really interesting to see him batting at the top of the order against the likes of Boland and Tremaine, 2 quality quicks.
White in, he slaps this one, he goes extremely high in the air. Lynn's coming around, he's underneath it, takes the catch, and that's a big wicket for Queensland. Cameron White has struggled and fought after 35 deliveries, but the innings finally comes to an end as drinks are going to be called onto the field. 4 for 66 now, the Victorians, after 14 overs, as we see Nick Maddinson move his way to the wicket. White goes for 10, and that is a big wicket for the Queenslanders.
Yeah, it is. That was coming an absolute mile away. White's just had a bit of a hoy across the line there. That ball wasn't really there for the shot he was trying to play. Angled, but he was just looking to get something over the infield, and in the end he's only succeeded in top edging it down to mid-on, where Chris Lynn settled under it, and they're well on top here, the Bulls. 4 for 66. Victorians, and yeah, Nick Maddinson, player who's made the move to Victoria in the off-season, uncontracted, I believe, down there, but has forced his way into the squad. And I guess it's an interesting indictment on modern cricket in that Maddinson is a current member of the Australian T20 outfit, didn't have a state contract, and has now forced his way into the Victorian one-day side. Shows that specialist players are becoming more and more a thing, but he's got a huge opportunity here to bat for a considerable period of time and debut for his new state.
And to be fair, it must be said, the reason for New South Wales moving on from him was probably lack of runs in the longer format of the game, because last summer 398 runs at 66 for the New South Welshman, and was their one-day player of the year, so certainly didn't have anything to do with how he'd been performing in the 50-over game. But he comes out here, and sometimes players need that. You see it all the time, whether it's AFL or NRL or soccer. It's a new lease of life in a new environment. Been at New South Wales his whole career, having come up from Nowra as a young fella.
And we were talking a bit before about shaky starters and how White was struggling to get momentum. Maddison's probably another one who can be a bit of a nervous starter at times. Can tend to feel for the ball a little bit early in his innings, but if he gets settled, his hitting power and his stroke play is almost unmatched in Australian cricket. He is that good. And I think he's going to relish the chance here to bat for a long period of time. Obviously, typically been a top-order batsman in short-form cricket, but coming in at number 6 here, probably wasn't expecting to be in the 15th over. He'll be facing up straight away after the drinks break, because Bartlett is going to continue. The good work from him in his previous over probably helped Wildermuth in getting that wicket as well. So it's been good team effort from the Bulls thus far.
Yeah, bowling very well in partnerships. I think we've got the next man in, probably the last of, or is the last of the recognised batsmen, or you could even say Maddison is, but Gotch is a bona fide batsman keeper. Victoria need to be very careful here. Maddison faces up here and he's forward and just dropping down the offside. A bit of hesitation before they get through, and Maxwell takes a bit of a tumble, but they get through for the single. So Maddison off the mark straight away. Takes a score along to 67 for the loss of 4 into this 15th over.
Is there anything better than getting off the mark first ball?
No.
Like, that may be a controversial statement in sort of the across the whole spectrum of life, but getting off the mark on the first ball of your innings has to be just the ultimate nerve settler. So Maddison will be very, very pleased to be down the other end and have a good look at how this pitch is playing.
First run in Victorian colours as well. So he crosses off a couple of milestones with that shot there. Maxwell back and just drops that onto the onside. Yeah, but it's been interesting to see Queensland go with some youth, with some of these young players. You know, Jack Prestwidge isn't part of the squad today. He's playing Brisbane Premier Cricket, but he's only 19. Xavier Bartlett, the man with the ball at the moment, is 19. Max Bryant, who was probably one of the real shining lights for the Cricket Australia 11 last summer, only 19 years of age. And from what we saw from him against New South Wales in the JLT One Day Cup, where he hit 89 off 61 balls, he could be a real excitement machine at the top of the order for the Queenslanders. Comes Bartlett again. This one just beats Maxwell Orleans up. That's a beautiful ball. Chafford out him, coming forward and probing at it. Just leaves him outside the off stump. That is a very good delivery.
Yeah, more of the same from Bartlett. That's lovely bowling. That'll please his captain no end. Maxwell just on the walk a little bit as well. I think that these batsmen seem to be a little bit unsure on the front foot. Just maybe the pitch holding up slightly, and anytime they're coming forward, not willing to really commit on the front foot.
Then short ball and almost like tennis racket slapped or swatted over to the onside out to deep mid wicket, and Maxwell will get 2. We've seen him play that shot plenty of times before, where he gets over the ball and kind of hits it down. Wasn't quite as accentuated on that occasion, but does pick up a couple of runs. I guess the way that the pitch has been playing, Matt, it's still very, very early days, but it's hard to kind of tell what would be a competitive total on this wicket, considering what we've seen so far in these first 14 and a bit overs. Maxwell back and cutting square the wicket. Beautiful shot for 4. There was 2 men there. And they were only separated by probably 4 or 5 metres, and he beat both of them. It's a beautiful shot, 4 to Maxwell.
Yeah, it's a nice shot. Standing tall, punching that ball between those two fielders, square of the wicket. And, you know, he's not looked outstanding, Maxwell, but he's already humming along. 18 now from 25.
But then Maxwell back, and he punches this out to mid-off. Again, that was very well timed. Doesn't beat the man on this occasion. But it's funny, isn't it? Because in those first 3 overs, Matt, Victoria were just creaming the ball to all areas of the park, and then since then it's just been a real change of pace for them.
After 15 overs, Victoria are 4 for 73.
So 15 overs gone. Sure, if you're going to captain of Queensland, Chris Lynn, before today's game, or maybe even last night, and they were going with tactics and said, "We're going to have Victoria 4 for 73 off 15 overs." I'm sure he probably wouldn't have thought that you were telling the truth or weren't a very good psychic, but that is the way things have panned out so far today, and it's been an intriguing first 15 overs.
That's right, and his pitch looks very white from a distance. It's looks like a lovely surface, but the bowlers are executing their plans very well here. Very pleased with this score.
Wildermuth continues. Anderson whips this onto the onside for no run. And despite it being hot today as well, I guess being Sydney side as Matt, we've had pretty cold weather apart from the day that we flew up here. The Queensland is not really phased by it at the moment. That's probably a combination of them being used to these kind of conditions, but also the fact they've got wickets fairly regularly.
Yeah, that's right. It's amazing what a wicket will do for the fielding team's energy and mentality. There's nothing quite like a wicket.
Anderson on 1. Forward and dropping this onto the offside.
You can just see as well Maxwell's intent there to back up. He was a good 7 or 8 metres down the wicket already when Madison sent him back. And that just shows that probably boundaries, you know, albeit there was a boundary last over, but relatively hard to come by. It's a lot of strike rotation at the moment and looking to support his partner as well. So he's really switched on, Maxwell, and he's looking pretty good for someone who's probably not found his full rhythm with his stroke play. He's still humming along.
Madison pulls this one again. Awkward shot off the shoulder of the bat. Just kind of balloons out past that centre circle and picks up 1. So the woes for the Victorian batsmen continue. They just haven't been able to really get going today, and Wildermuth for a second may have thought he was about to capture his second scalp of this morning's contest.
Wonder how far we are, Jack, away from seeing the leg spinner, Mitch Schwepson, because you'd think that Madison and Maxwell would go after him if he did come into the attack.
With Ian and Maxwell from the crease. Drops that out onto the offside again. So very accurate bowling here from Jack Wildermuth.
Sort of, it's a tough balance here for Lynn. So just having a conference at mid-on with Charlie Hemfrey, but at what point does he introduce his leg spin up? Because it could be a master stroke or it could backfire. It's, I guess, the unknowns of wrist spin bowling.
2 balls left in this over. Wildermuth short at the body, and that sort of pushes out onto the offside. I guess the pacemen have done a very good job so far, so
yeah,
might be holding it off as much as he can, seeing what he can get out of the likes of Wildermuth and Bartlett. I know on face value, Bartlett's figures probably don't look that impressive. 2 overs, none for 13, but he has been able to make the batsman play and miss a fair bit.
A little bit more chat going on. Chris Lynn's getting plenty of help in the field today. Joe Burns contributing where he can as well.
Maxwell faces up, and this one off the inside edge, dribbles out, pass backwards square leg, and Maxwell will collect 2 more runs there. Just keeping that scoreboard ticking over, trying to build this partnership here. So 16 overs completed here at Riverway Stadium. 4 for 76, the Victorians, after they lost the toss and were sent into bat by Queensland captain Chris Lynn. Wickets so far this morning, Marcus Harris was the first to go. LBW Mark Steckety for 19. Matt Short was bowled by Steckety for 9 without offering a shot. We saw Hanscom, the 3rd wicket to fall. He was caught behind off the ball, and Stanley Pepper getting the catch. He went without troubling the scorers, and White, the most recent dismissal, caught Lynn off the bowling at Woodmouth for 2, swiping across the line and hitting high on the bat and ballooning a catch for Lynn. So that is the 4 wickets for Queensland, 76 on the board. Maddinson is on 2, he's facing up. Maxwell, the non-striker's then on 23. Forward, and he's appeal here for LBW, but unmoved was the umpire on that occasion. But again, Maxwell well down the crease there, Matt, as you mentioned in the last over.
Yeah, just on the walk a little bit there. Nick Maddinson, wonder if we'll see a replay here, just what line that delivery was on. Bit of a 3-quarter appeal from Queensland, maybe a little bit hopeful, but I suspect there might have been some bat on that, judging by the stroke that Maddinson was looking to play.
Bartlett in again and just probing from the creases. Maddinson, who's really only been able to play defensive shots so far, but he has picked up 3 singles. And that's probably with the assistance of Maxwell, the non-strikers, then helping out a little bit. How nervy it can be at the start of an innings. Only into the 17th over as well, so Victoria have loads of time left in this innings. They can really afford to take their time, although that's probably not the attributes that these batsmen are known for.
No, but both for very different reasons. A massive opportunity out here now for the Vicks.
So Bartlett comes in again, just short of a length and just nudged wide of point there. And Sam Heaslett runs around to keep it to a single.
I'll just keep a close eye on Bartlett's hand as he's letting the ball go here. There's a lot of balls moving away from the right hand of Maxwell quite considerably, and you just wonder if he's rolling the fingers down the side of the ball, create a bit of a leg cutter, just hold the ball up off the surface slightly, or if it is genuine seam movement.
Just full and slammed straight to cover there by Maddens. It was a very good shot, but wasn't able to pierce the gap. It went straight at Hazlett again on that far side. Talk about the great fidgeters in the game. I know Steve Smith and David Warner probably up there, but Maddinson giving a run for his money with the pushing up the sleeves and undoing the gloves and different things. Batsmen, they really are a different breed of cricketers sometimes. This is short and just knocked out to mid-wicket, no run.
Yeah, that fidgeting often comes as a bit of a comfort mechanism when you're working hard, and you can tell that Maddison's grafting here. He's just looking to play the ball quite late under the eyes. I think it looks as though he's noticed that sometimes the ball was holding up and some of his colleagues were playing a bit in front of the body.
Last ball of Bartlett's over here. It's only 2 off it so far. And this one hits him on the pad. There's a strong appeal, and then there's almost a bit of a mix-up as Maddinson does his best to scamper back behind the crease, but Bartlett's been impressive. 2 from that one. He's bowled 3 overs, none for 15-17 gone. And Victoria 4 for 78. Maddinson on 3, Maxwell 24.
Yeah, Bartlett's causing all sorts of problems here. Getting that ball to deviate off the wicket, and again, it's a delivery that Maddison's played down one line, and the ball's gone on completely another. So that's impressive stuff from young Bartlett, and he's justifying his inclusion in the side thus far. So too's Wildermuth, permanent fixture in the Bulls lineup. He's got 1 for 12 from his 3 overs. he's certainly rolling his fingers down the side of the ball. You know, a bit of an off-cutter motion consistently throughout his overs. It's proving effective as well. Wicket of Cameron White coming after a prolonged period of frustration for him.
So Wildermuth at the top of his mark, 1 for 12 off 3. He's been very consistent so far this morning. This is pitched up and Maxwell just leans on that, defends it out onto the offside.
A good indicator, Jack, in short form cricket is when there's no sweeper on the offside, there's no pace on the off the wicket, because so often you see straight away, oh, out to deep point you go, and just let batsmen have singles out there because it's so easy to time the ball for a boundary through the infield. But here, Queensland are keeping the field up.
Maxwell nudges that one out to short third man. Hazlett doing the fielding again.
Yeah, and again, there's just another example of unable to time that ball through the offside. And that's not to say that it's every ball. There's obviously been some good shots through and over the offside thus far, but by and large, they've come from half volleys, short, wide ones, as opposed to good length deliveries that modern batsmen typically like to punch on the up through the field, but unable to do that so far, the Victorians.
Wildermuth continue to keep it tight here for the Bulls. Maxwell drives on the up out through extra cover. Wonderfully timed. And that one races away to the fence for 4. So breaks the shackles somewhat there for the Victorians. Maxwell picking up 4 more, but really just lent into that one and managed to find the gap out on the offside. So Maxwell picks up 4, goes to 28 from just 33 deliveries. 4 for 82, Victoria.
Yeah, I'll just jump back in my box there. That's exactly what we were just saying. Couldn't happen. And as we see that now with the boundary already this over, deep points in play.
Maxwell nudges this one down the ground and easily picks up a single. It was already about 2.5 or 3 steps down the wicket by the time he met the ball, so it wasn't that much further he had to go to get to the non-striker's end. But obviously before this game, Maxwell would have been seen as a key, but particularly now with 29 runs for him off 34, Matt, he becomes even more pivotal, not just in this partnership, but in this innings for Victoria.
He sure does, and he's showing some of his experience here as well. He's not playing expansively over the top. It's that one streaky pull shot that flew over the head of Mark Steckety at deep square leg.
Shortish ball, which didn't really get up a whole lot there. Madison had a bit of a look at it just to see what the bounce was doing and left it alone.
Yeah, again, slow off the wicket. That's almost tennis ball type bounce in the amount of pace it lost after pitching. Sort of ballooned through to Pfeffer a little bit. Madison well advised to stay away from that. By the time they've hit the wicket hard, something's happened here, Queensland.
Madison's forward this time, trying to get out to the pitch of the ball and defends out to Hazlett, who's done a lot of the fielding, it must be said, in the last 3 or 4 overs. Every time we mention a ball going to a fielder, Hazlett's the man there. End of the over. 4 for 83 after 18. Madison 3, Maxwell on 29. Wildermuth continue to keep it very tight, especially for a one-day game. 4 overs, 1 for 17.
A little bit of a recognition that Maxwell's the set batsman here. 4 fielders now outside the fielding restriction circle, but the slip is still in place. That's good captaincy from Chris Lynn.
So Bartlett continues, been impressive in these first 3 overs. Short of a length, and he tries to club this out of the ground as Maxwell doesn't fully get onto it, and Lynn has to dance around outside that circle as they pick up 2. That was more of a power over timing stroke, that one from Maxwell, but still picks up a couple.
We just look at the leg side field here at the moment, Jack. You can see there's a fine leg, the deep square, and then a mid-on. Big gap out there on the leg side. Just tempting Maxwell into potential big shot through that vast expanse.
Driving expansively at this one, and Bartlett rocks his head back as he thought perhaps maybe for a millisecond he got the big fish, but Maxwell just lifted his head a little bit there, didn't get over the line of the ball, and that's all it takes, doesn't it, Matt? Just one ball like that and change this partnership.
Yeah, that's right. Now it suddenly looks like he's looking for the big shots, doesn't it? Last over a boundary through the offside, and then the big mistimed pull shot well in front of square earlier this over. And they come and meet the ball.
Just checks the shot there and plays a lot more sedately. Doesn't need to do anything silly here, Maxwell. 31 from 37. And that's been with not really going after the bowling. And this partnership now worth 20 as well, so going to build towards something. Each time there's a wicket, it obviously slows down the run rate, but just makes it really hard for batsmen to get in. Considering the players back in the pavilion, won't be doing that too more often in this innings. As Maxwell just drops this with soft hands and eases it through third man for a single. Plan a miss there from Nick Madsen, just looking to just try and guide that ball, to use the pace of Bartlett and ease it through, I guess, around that third man backward point region. Which Swepson looks like he's warming up, either one or two things. He's going to be bowling soon, or he's trying to give the captain a bit of a hint out there. We have had almost 19 overs, so we haven't seen him thus far.
Yeah, I wonder if he's coming on next over, actually, but certainly you have to let the captain know you're ready.
You
Can't
do.
wait.
It's a very important process. There's Madsen probably 2 feet outside his crease, comes forward and drives to Heaslip for no run. 19 overs gone, 4 for 86. Victoria, they were sent in after Chris Lynn won the toss. They went none for 32 after 3 overs and were going at a rate of knots, but fell away when they lost 3 for 13 in the space of 5 overs. Consolidated somewhat with this partnership, which is currently worth at 21, with Madsen on 3 and Maxwell 32. Still a long way to go if they want to post a competitive and match-winning target here. Only 19 overs gone as well, so we're not even halfway through here. And it will be Mitch Swepson who'll get a chance to bowl for the first time in this morning's game.
A promising leg spinner. Swepson been on a number of Australian tours, made his T20 international debut over in England. Gets his first crack at domestic cricket for the summer.
So this is the 5th bowler used by Queensland. So replaces Jack Wildermuth, who has figures of 1 for 17 from 4 overs. And it will be Glenn Maxwell that will be facing up to him. Just retaking his guard here. So if they stay at this run rate, they're projected to get 227. Still very early doors. Here comes Swepson for his first ball. Thrown up and just eased down the ground there by Maxwell. We're going to need some nice fielding from that man Hazlett again.
He's going to have plenty of work to do there at short cover. All sorts of space, both to his left and his right. He peppered here.
This one's short, and Maxwell leaves it late before he cuts that one to backward point. To Max Bryant. Can't pick up a run there. So a good start here from Swepson so far. This one plenty of air, and Maxwell just prods forward, and no doubt having a bit of a look at Swepson early on. So Ford works this one around the corner through square leg. It's a bit of a chase out there for Charlie Hemphrey, the Englishman, and he comes through and cleans it up, keeps it to a single. As well across to 33-4 for 88 now.
Swepson had his first few deliveries just sliding on. Didn't look to be too much turn. And now in response to that, Chris Lynn's actually put himself at slip against the left-hander Madison. So you just wonder if this is a ploy to see if Madison might be feeling for the ball, trying to judge just how much spin is on offer early. 3 men out on the leg side as well.
You also wonder how long it's going to be before either of these two batsmen decide to open the shoulders against the slow bowling here of Swepson. This one thrown up and back and looking to cut that one with vigour was Madison, but misses out and rocks his head back.
Straight away there it is, Jack, just sliding on. A bit of bounce as well. And Chris Lynn threw his head back, thought he was in the game straight away.
Last ball of Swepson's first over. Lots of air. It's a full toss and punch down the ground by Madison. So he'll collect a single and he will move along to 4 and retain the strike for the next over. So 20 overs gone, 4 for 88. Braybrook is going to come back into the commentary booth here with Matt Taylor with Victoria. 88 on the board and 4 wickets down.
That's 20 overs gone there for Victoria. Victoria now
good bowling performance so far from Queensland. I think that Victoria was none for 32 after just 3 overs. And there was the triple breakthrough. Now we've got interesting little period of the game where the scoring rate has really slowed up. Maxwell's consolidating. Madison's feeling his way into the match. Debut for his new state. And Mark, it's been a fascinating morning's cricket.
It has, and it's getting a bit warmer out there too, Matt, I can tell you. The sun, as you expect here in North Queensland, has a bit of a bite to it. And the first match of the year for these players, I know they would have played club cricket and had some centre wicket practicing. It's different out in the middle for the first time. Edge and no one at second slip. I'll come back for a second. It just doesn't look overly comfortable, Nick Madison out there. Glenn Maxwell has looked the most comfortable, and that's why he's the top scorer at the moment. But Madison, as you just said, Matt, just seems to be reaching and feeling for the ball rather than having the ball come to him.
Yeah, and I think Bartlett's been so impressive. He's moving the ball off the wicket both ways, away from both of the batsmen, the left and right hander out here, really causing them trouble, squaring up Madison on a number of occasions.
Get one, but off the inside edge of the bat. Chris Lynn does the fielding. There's no doubt that Glenn Maxwell is the key. The match really at the moment rests on his bat. If Queensland can pick him up, they'd be confident of perhaps restricting Victoria to even under 200. If Maxwell's still there in another 20 overs, Victoria will be looking for 250. Maybe more.
Yeah, it does look comfortable, doesn't he? But still sort of, I guess, struggling to find that rhythm. Fascinated to see what these batsmen say in the innings break later, just about how the pace of the wicket and whether that's influenced the batting. But you saw early on Marcus Harris against the new ball looked like it was playing on a belter, and he was just hitting it through the line so nicely. And as soon as Queensland pulled the length back, started moving the ball off the wicket, hitting the deck hard, it's changed the game entirely.
Well played. That's a mid-wicket. There's a man on the boundary, just the one. I think the wicket is holding up a little bit, just fractionally, and the timing's not quite there. And Maxwell has looked the most comfortable. I'm not suggesting that, he's finding it easy, but he's concentrating well. And walking out to the centre earlier this morning, it was really spongy, the outfield, very soft. And the amount of water they put in after those 4 AFL games that were played here last Saturday, it's most probably still under the wicket there. And don't think it's as hard as it will be, say, this time next week. Bit high.
Yeah, again, Bartlett getting the ball to talk. That's an interesting point you make, Mark. I wasn't aware of the amount of AFL that was played here, but that would explain a few things, no doubt, if that was only a week ago. And
last Saturday.
Yeah.
Last Saturday night they flooded the ground, and Kevin Mitchell Jr. was up here helping them prepare the wicket. So they've only had a week to prepare it, and it looks terrific. And the outfield is immaculate, but very spongy. It's a better shot. Come back for one on the throw. It's the end of the over. And it was a better one for Victoria. They looked a little bit more comfortable there. 21 gone, and it's 4 for 95.
Talking about how Maxwell is the key, I guess, for Victoria out here. But you think of this pair at the crease and the storylines around both of their, I guess, presence here at the moment. You know, Maxwell, everyone expected him to be on the Test tour. Suddenly he's here pulling Victoria out of the mire after 3 quick wickets, and now really anchoring their innings as they look to build a big total. And the other end is Madison, was playing for a bit of redemption after being dumped by New South Wales and finding his way into the Victorian side without a state contract. He's forced his way into the side. He's battling hard as well.
Well, while this game is in the balance, Dick Madison's career's in the balance, isn't it? You don't play Test cricket if you're not a quality player, and there's no doubt that he's a quality player. But at the elite level, it's so much about the mind.
He's such a gifted stroke player, Madison, and now having to come in here and dig Victoria out of a precarious position, it's far from his natural game, and you can see him in two minds every ball.
That was well bowled. Just short of that perfect length, and Madison reaching for it again. Didn't use his feet there. You would think after growing up in Sydney and playing on the SCG that he'd be more comfortable against